Hello, welcome to the Learning Tree Book Club regular monthly meeting. We meet first Saturdays. Oh, and happy reading in the new year to all the book lovers. We meet first Saturdays every month. We changed our hours this year. They used to be since 2018 from 2 p.m. to 3:30 Central Time and 3 to 4:30 Eastern, and we moved it up for the so that it would be earlier, and then we could do more things on that first Saturday. But anyway, now it's 10 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. Central Time, and 11 to 12:30 p.m. Eastern Time. And I'm Meredith Coleman McGee, and the original member of the book club, Learning Tree Book Club, which was founded at Pearl Street AMN Church in Jackson at a spring break um, with, I guess it was 12 youth and 4 adults started the Learning Tree Book Club. So it's for ages 6 to 60 plus. And I have with me another founding member, it's Vicki Jenkins. Go ahead, Vic.
Yes, good morning. This is Vicki Jenkins. I'm co-founder, vice president of the Learning Tree Book Club, and we're trying to start this new schedule and hope everyone joins us. Uh, and we hope we have a new year, a happy new year. So we're gonna do as well as we can and get as many children and individuals to come and join us so we can have a good time.
Okay, so I'll start first, Vicky. I was reading this one, Homegoing, and really, I can't pronounce her name. It's an African name. Her family's from Nigeria, but she was raised in Alabama. Um, Tanashi Coates, and she's also the author of Between the World and Me. And this is a novel. I'm just going to read a little bit about her. Um, the New York Times says about this book, one of the best books of the year. Um, NPR, San Francisco Chronicle, BuzzFeed, Time, Harper's Bazaar, Mother Jones, Esquire, Ellie, Pace, Entertainment Weekly, Oprah.com, The Skim, Minneapolis Star Tribune. And this is a New York Times and Washington Post notable book. Okay, so let's see what I can find about her. So this is the back of the book, which I find very interesting, and it's historical fiction as well. Because even though this is fiction, she's basing it on the reality of the 18th century. So this is Ghana, 18th century. Two half sisters are born into different villages, each unaware of the other. One will marry an Englishman and lead a life of comfort in the collateral rooms of the Cape Coast Castle. The other will be captured in a raid on her village, imprisoned in the very same castle, and sold into slavery. Homegoing follows the parallel paths of these sisters and their descendants through 8 generations, from the Gold Coast to the plantations of Mississippi, from the American Civil War to jazz age Harlem. Gossel's extraordinary novel illuminates slavery's troubled legacy, both for those who were taken and those who stayed, and showed how the memory of captivity has been inscribed on the soul of a nation. Let's see where I ended up stopping it. So this is the chapter I'm in, Query. I'm gonna read 2 paragraphs and let you read. Query had received a message from his old friend Conjo and didn't know how he would answer it. That night, he pretended the heat was keeping him awake. An easy lie, for he was drenched in sweat. But then, when wasn't he sweating? It was so hot and humid in the bush that he felt like he was being slowly roasted for supper. He missed the castle, the breeze from the beach, here in the village of his mother, Effie. Sweat pooled in his ears, in his belly button. His skin itched, and he imagined mosquitoes crawling up his feet to his legs, to his stomach, to rest at the watering hole of his navel. Did mosquitoes drink sweat, or was it only blood? Blood. He pictured the prisoners being brought into the cellars by the tens or twenties, their hands and feet bound and bleeding. He wasn't made for this. He was supposed to have an easier life, away from the workings of slavery. He was raised among the whites in Cape Coast, educated in England. He should still be in his office in the castle, working as a writer, the junior officer rank that his father, James Collins, had secured for him before his death, logging numbers that he couldn't pretend didn't represent people, bought and sold. Instead, the castle's new governor had summoned him, sent him here to the bush. As you know by now, Query, we've had a long-standing working relationship with Abika Barton and the other Negroes of his village. But of late, we've heard that they have begun trading with a few private companies. We would like to set up an outpost in the village that would act as a resident for a few of our employees as a way of, say, gently reminding our friends that that they have certain trade obligations to our company. You've been specially requested for the position, and given your parents' history with the village, and given your comfort and familiarity with the language and local customs, we thought that you might be a particular asset to our company while there. Query had noted and accepted the position because what else could he do? But inside, he resisted. His comfort and familiarity with the local customs, his parents' history with the village. Query was still in Effie's wound the last time he and his mother had been there. So scared was she of Barbara. That was in 1779, nearly 20 years ago. Query felt his new job was a kind of punishment, and hadn't he been punished enough? But I'm gonna stop right there and let you read, Vicky.
Okay. Yes. As I was, I am on the Sexless Marriage Relationship Guide, and it's written by Sylvia Byatil She is one of my sorority sisters, and she's a Jackson resident, and she has her own publishing company. What was that? Kingdom Kingdom Come Publishing. That is her publishing company. And she writes, she starts off with, the book starts off with, one would assume as newlyweds, as newlyweds, they had just begun a marriage made in heaven. You know how it was. So in love they could die if they couldn't be together 24/7. Couples tend to be so tight, and you could not run a pin through them. Laughing, giggling, holding hands, kissing, all the major fireworks. Couldn't wait to get home and get in the sheets. Hanging all over each other. So in love and lust on their eyes that those looking on had to repent of being jealous or envious. Yes, it started out on that way, just as any married and passionate couple in the sheets with any fine body parts, biceps, triceps, set your soul on fire. The magic was just there. Your boo would say, come on, baby, let's get it on, baby. Marvin Gaye. There's nothing wrong with the song, with loving you, because we're legally true, having a license. So let's do. Keeping it real. Most of the sisters, especially if they married young and thought that the sun rose and set and shined on their husbands, you couldn't tell a sister nothing about her man. She would be ready to scratch your eyeballs, and give you a beat down, quote unquote, to any sister who dared to step up to him. Back in the day, if they would really tell the truth and shame the devil, they didn't have a clue about married life. That was just what everybody else was doing. Some did it to escape their home environment, and others did not want to be labeled as an old maid. Quite a few did not want to be so-called strict rules, so they married in spite of their parents. So just figure it out, they would stroll along with the course of their marriage. Some of their generation of parents did not know about healthy, solid relationship skills. If they did, many would have settled for miserable, unproductive, unfulfilling, and abusive lifestyle, physically, mentally. Now, there were some sisters fortunate enough to have a storybook Cinderella wedding, and others who would have barely got by on just the use of ribbons, hand-me-down, flowers, borrowed dress, limited food. You know what I mean. Marriage counseling. What was that? Those that still did not quite constantly put it into practice. They have drifted off. Some forgot to yell, wake up, pay attention. Otherwise, we would not be battling with each other and overwhelming pensions. Most divorce rates were so prevalent in the church arena, or prevalent in the church arena, as well as in the secular world. On the up and up, for many, the marriage and mainly the images that was portrayed and on television and house soap operas, such as the World Turns, in which the sisters would be turned upside down to get to church, to be preached right upside down, to be preached right up, to be preached right side up again. Because if the negative perception of the sisters having an overly aggressive chip on their shoulders, some really would have captivated by all my children, because the children were all plentiful. Most households, therefore, visiting General Hospital frequently. Then we needed some days of our lives, and hoped guiding light would guide us to the place of serenity. What family of any church, what family of any ethnicity could measure up and relate to the shows such as Leave It to Beaver, Father Knows Best, I Love Lucy, The Waltons, Brady Bunch, Little House on the Prairie, in which unbalanced reality of the perfect family syndrome was displayed. Others had watched their parents, grandparents, and other couples outside of the church, the ones they perceived having mature marriages. Marriage to some was sex, children, living paycheck to paycheck, struggling, juggling, tiresome, draining, sacrificing, and trying to meet all bills and take all pills. Do you find it disturbing that things haven't changed much in this millennium? Society is glorifying, idolizing, reinforcing, perpetrating what marriage and relationships should be. Some unrealistic images of reality, TV shows, which sitcoms, entertainment magazines, books, and movies, Hollywood Media Entertainment Network, 24 hours, 24-hour soaps, operas, gossip columns. For many couples of marriages, occasionally, sex, if any at all, they have living arrangements for convenience. No pills, no alcohol to numb the void and feelings of frustration, depression, loneliness, exhaustion. A lot of church meetings are running to be toe to toe with the secular pertaining to the divorce rate, to divorce. Some are wondering, are some churches conforming to the world standards of marriage? The kind that you chase them and replace them. Many couples having discovered that their marriage has gone through the time travel and has processed, refined, stretched, fired, and punched. They have come to the realization that marriage fails under 3 stages: lust, cuss, and fuss. Marrying immaturely without having the proper knowledge being uninformed and having an unbiblical and unbalanced foundation that would lead to these realizations. Are you on the hit list? In chapter 2 of marriage, sex, chapter 2, no married sexual bliss, and you really don't have a clue in the denial as any way that this may be so. Meredith?
Uh-huh. Are you ready for me to read?
Huh?
Ready for me to read?
Yeah.
Okay. And I'm reading home going, and I'm in the chapter Curie, and I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right. Just, anyway, the sun finally came up, and Curie went to see his uncle Fifi. When they met for the first time only a month before, Curie could hardly believe that a man like Fifi was related to him. It wasn't that he was handsome. Effie had been called the beauty her whole life, and so Curie was accustomed to beauty. It was that Fifi looked powerful. His body, a graceful alliance of muscles. Curie had taken after his father, skinny and tall, but not particularly strong. James was powerful, but his power had come from his pedigree. The Collinses of Liverpool, who gained their wealth building slave ships. His mother's power came from her beauty. But Fifi's power came from his body, from the fact that he looked like he could take anything he wanted. Curie had known only one other person like that. Ah, my son, you are welcome here, Fifi said when he saw Curie approaching. Sit, eat. Summoned, the house girl came out with two bowls. She started to set one bowl in front of Fifi, but he stopped her with only a glance. You must serve my son first. Sorry, she mumbled, setting the bowl in front of Curie's instead. Curie thanked her and looked down at the potteridge. Uncle, we've been here a month already, and yet still you haven't discussed our trade agreements. The company has the money to buy more, much more, but you have to let us. You have to stop trading with any other company. Curie had given this very speech or one like it many times before, but his uncle Fifi always ignored him. The first night they were there, Curie had wanted to talk to Badu about the trade agreements straight away. He thought the sooner he could get the chief to agree, the sooner he could leave. That night, Barbara had invited all the men to drink at his compound. He bought them enough wine and passing to drown in. Timothy Hightower, an officer eager to impress the chief, drank half a caskful of the home brew before he passed out underneath a palm tree, shaking and vomiting and claiming to see spirits. So he was drunk, big. Also homebrew in a village in Africa. Soon the rest of the men also littered the forest of Badu's front yard. Wow. Vomiting or sleeping or searching for a local woman to sleep with. Fury wanted for his chance to speak to Barbara, sipping his drink all the while. He had no sense to sip. Huh? He had only 2 cups of wine before Fifi approached him. Careful, Query, Fifi said, pointing at the scene of men before them, stronger men than those have been brought down by too much drink. Query looked at the cup in Fifi's hand, his eyebrow raised. Water, Fifi said. One of us must be ready for anything. He motioned to Badu, who had fallen asleep in his gold throne, his chin nested down to the round flesh of his belly. Query laughed, and Fifi cracked a smile, the first that Query had seen since meeting him. Query never talked to Badu that night, but as the weeks went on, he learned that it was not Badu he needed to please. While Abaku Badu was the figurehead, the uh, Omanian received gifts from the political leaders of London and Holland alike for his role in their trade. Fifi was the authority. When he shook his head, the whole village stopped. Now, Fifi was as silent as he was every other time Query had brought up trade with the British. He looked out into the forest in front of them, and Query followed his gaze. In the trees, 2 vibrant birds sang loudly a discordant song. Uncle, the agreement Badu made with my father. Do you hear that? Fifi asked, pointing to the birds. Frustrated, Cooley nodded. When one bird sings, the other one starts. Each time their songs gets louder, shriller. Why do you think that is? Uncle, trade is the only reason we're here. If you want the British out of your village, you have to. What you cannot hear, Queen, is the third bird. She is quiet, listening to the male birds get louder and louder and louder still. And when they have sung their song out, then and only then will she speak up. Then and only then will she choose the man whose song she liked best. For now, she sits and lets them argue. Who will be the better partner? Who will give her better seed? Who will fight for her when times are difficult? Curious, this village must conduct its business like that female bird. You want to pay more for slaves? Pay more. But know that the Dutch will also pay more, and the Portuguese, and even the pirates will pay more too. And while you are out shouting about how much better you are than the others, I will be sitting quietly in my compound, eating my fufu and waiting for the price I think is right. Now, let us not speak of business anymore. Curie sighed. So he would be here forever. The birds had stopped singing. Perhaps they sensed his aspiration. He looked at them, their blue, yellow, and orange wings, their hooked beaks. There were no birds like this in London, Curie said softly. There was no color. Everything was gray. The sky, the building, even the people looked gray. Fifi shook his head. I don't know why Effie let James send you to that nonsense country. Huey nodded absently and returned to the pottery in his bowl. Curie had been a lonely child. When he was born, his father built a hut close to the castle so that he, Effie, and Curie could live more comfortable. In those days, trade had been prosperous. Curie never saw dungeons, and he had only the faintest idea of what went on in the lower levels of the castle. But he knew that business was good because he rarely saw his father. Every day was for him and Effie. She was the most patient mother in all of Cape Coast, in all the Gold Coast. She spoke softly, yet assuredly. She never hit him, even when the other mothers taunted her, telling her that she would spoil him and that he would never learn. Learn what? Effie would answer. What did I ever learn from Barbara? And yet, Curie did learn. He sat in Effie's lap as she taught him to speak, repeating a word in both Fronte and English until Curie could hear in one language and answer in the other. She had only learned how to read and write herself in the first year of Curie's life, and yet she taught him with vigor, holding his small, fat fist in hers as they traced lines and lines and lines together. How smart you are, she exclaimed when Curie learned to spell his name without her first. In 1784, on Curie's fifth birthday, Effie told him about her own childhood in Bundu's village. He learned all of the names, Kobe, Baba, Fifi. He learned there was another mother whose name they would not know, that the shimmering black stone Effie always wore above her neck had belonged to this woman, his true grandmother. Telling this story, Effie's face darkened. The stone passed. Mercury reached up and touched her cheek. You are my own child, she said, mine. And she was his. When he was young, they had been enough. But as he grew older, he began to lament the fact that his family was so small. Unlike all the other families in the Gold Coast, where siblings piled on top of siblings in the steady steam of marriages, each powerful man consummated. He wished that he could meet his father's other children, those white Collinses who lived across the Atlantic, but he knew that it would never be. Curie had only himself, his books, the beach, the castle, his mother. I'm worried about because he has no friends, Elfie said to James one day. He doesn't play with the other castle children. Curie had always almost stepped in the door after a day of building sandcastle replicas of the Cape Coast Castle when he heard Effie mention his name, and so he had remained outside to listen. What are we supposed to do about that? You've cuddled him, Effie. He's got to learn to do some things on his own. He should be playing with other Fonte children, village children, so that he can get away from here from time to time. Don't you know anyone? I'm home, Curie announced, perhaps a bit too noisily, not wanting to hear what his father would say next. By the end of the day, he'd forgotten all about it. But weeks later, when Kuda Sachi came with his father to visit the castle, Curie remembered his parents' conversation. Cujo's father was the chief of a prominent Fonte village, Fenton. He was Albert Ku Badu's biggest competitor, and he had begun meeting with James Colliers to discuss priestly trade when the governor asked him if he might bring his eldest son to one of their meetings. Curie, this is Cujo, James said, giving Curie a small push toward the board. You two play while we talk. Curie and Koj watched their fathers walk off to a different side of the castle. Once they could hardly make them out anymore, Cujo turned his attention to Curie. Are you white? Cujo had asked him, touching his hair. Curie recoiled at Conjur's touch, though many others had done the same thing, asked him the same question. I'm not white, he said softly. What? Speak up, Cujo said, as so Curie had repeated himself, nearly shouting. For the distance, the boy's fathers turned to observe the commotion. Not so loud, Curie, James said. Curie could feel color flood into his cheeks, but Cujo had just looked on, clearly amused. So you're not white, what are you? I'm like you, Curie said. Cujo held his hand out and demanded that Curie do the same until they were standing arm in arm, skin touching skin. Not like me, Cujo said. Curie had wanted to cry, but that desire embarrassed him. He knew that he was one of the half-caste children of the castle, and like the other half-caste children, he could not fully claim either half of himself, neither his father's whiteness nor his mother's blackness, neither England nor the Gold Coast. Cujo must have seen the tears fighting to escape through his eyes. Come on, he said, grabbing Curie's hand. My father says they keep big guns here. Show me where. Though he'd asked Curie to show him, Conjo was the one who began to lead the way, running until the two boys had zipped past their fathers towards cannons. I stopped there, Vic. You ready, Vic?
Okay. No marital sexual bliss. Naturally, the union of two unique, distinct personalities will sometimes entail challenging moments, conflicts, incompatibilities, annoyance, habits, personal weaknesses, levels of stress, power struggle. they will have to deal with, according to the marriage expert, Dr. Monroe. God bless the few who don't, but either way it goes, will find that they are going to need renewal of commitment, revaluation, upgrade of their vows. A couple's approach to response in dealing with each category mentioned above perhaps would affect the foundation of any relationship. A lot of couples, Christians, non-Christians, mostly miserable, downgrading a lifestyle that they have become accustomed is hard to let go and are easy to, specifically after a mediocre one. Hard to let go, specifically after a mediocre one. Some men would say it's cheaper to keep her. Nay, a sister says it's convenient to keep her. It's convenient to keep him. They have too much invested and they have as well to say. So some spouses don't want their children's lives uprooted and shattered. Lifestyles would change if divorce mentioned. The finances would be limited, especially when one spouse was issuing major duckies, dough. You know how it would be half of everything. Homegirls would know have sometimes don't mean half. Sisters can vary on the value of this distribution. Homegirls just ain't quick challenging lifestyle, quick changing lifestyles. When we think of freaking mortgage, alimony, child support, baby mama drama, step parents, step drama, stepchild drama, then there's court costs, lawyer fees, judgment decrees, visitation rights, dividing property. And it becomes an ongoing saga that they have just forgot that they just forget. It's signing Al Green tune. Let's stay together, whether good or bad, happy or sad. Give a chill pill and tell me what's not real. Know you can say what you have to say always wanted to say. Calgon, take me away. Calgon, take me away. Wanted to say, Calgon, take me away. Unfortunately, a lot of men wanted to break up the mundane. They start feeling like they would have a need to outlet, yet they won't go and won't go and talk to Cain. They go and play with Jane. See somebody new, and if it don't be careful, their butts gonna each catch up with the other and their wives, and strife and knife meow and with their wife, and strife and knife meow. Because some husbands can't relate, they date and indulge themselves into numerous affairs, some serious, some others just not so serious. Wives are too caught up into managing a job, raising, hauling children to soccer practices, baseball, football games, piano, ballet lessons, karate lessons. Since the popularity of Tiger Mania and tennis sisters, pros Venus and Serena Williams, hauling them to golf and tennis lessons has become a top priority. Household chores, help with the homework, grocery lists, making sure bills get paid, and emotional and physical stress. Marital strife, marital strife to give each attention to their sex life. Later, they gasp and collapse in bed, saying nothing. Now, what little sexual intimacy they have, having gone from barely existing to none, the lack has become screaming couple has been like the lack has become screaming a couple of months, yet years. Later to the song, Get Me Out, Jesus, by outstanding songbird Valerie Boyd. How would this ever have happened? Like the legendary Elvis Presley song, I'm all shook up. The boat has been rocked, baby, and like the song, only King of the Blues. I like the one and only King of the Blues. Dr. B.B. King can sing. The thrill, the thrill is gone. Now the chill is on. They are living without Niagara and Viagra. The libido, loco, none, and no sexual bliss. Girlfriend has just gone cold turkey. And the brother, especially if he is continuously cheating. A sister says, you can't have your cake and pie, and I ain't going nowhere. You can have your cake and pie, and I ain't going nowhere. Although some husbands would frown from the idea of no sex because of their religious beliefs of no divorce, till death do us part, they would start new lives in separate households indefinitely. Therefore, some continuing their philandering, nonetheless, still married in name only. Would this means sex on life support for some wives? What about the others whose spouse left and refusal to have kept the vows when one became ill, in sickness and in health? Therefore, abandoned partner remain celibate and hoping for the return of their spouse that has defaulted. Unimaginable, yet there are all of the spouse, there are some in the same household with separate bedrooms, or some bedrooms diminishing without sex due to cheating spouses. You could categorize them as Ripley, believe it or not, and solely having forgot about them. Yet they do exist. No sex. I'm the man, and surely that can be the plan. Brother gone, shout. A sister says it is just my imagination once again running away with me. Just my imagination running away with me. yet you know how our folks talk about you. They're gonna holler at you, girl, as you developed plaque epidemic, you develop a plaque epidemic, they will say it is something wrong with the picture. A grass cannot be blamed on the, I guess you can't blame them because it sounds like some messed up. The folks will flap their mouths about. Could this really be norm in committed relationships? If any race, could this really be the norm in any committed relationships of any race? If it is, who is willingly going to fess up? Sometimes when you tell the males that they are sexless, some might say, don't some might say, don't play, because I'm willing to lay without you. The in addition, the female response may be, if you ain't gay, you, you can have it all. If you ain't gay, you can have all of this filet mignon. As many will discover, and another chapter for those who choose to will not, another chapter for those, it's a choice, and others it is not. It's no wonder many would rather stay in the closet. Who wants to be criticized, scrutinized, ostracized, or any other sized? You, me, who? See if you can agree. See if you can agree on chapter 3, cheating spouses. Explain there is no sexual flame because someone became untamed by another flirtatious game. So some can pray, some can't pry between the thigh. Real issue, cheating spouses. Obviously, some couples will become self-evident that for others, there's their perspective of the root cause. Their perspective of the root cause obviously for some couples, it becomes self-evident. And for others, there's perspective of the root cause for their sexless marriage will lead to the self-evaluation, extensive soul, and searching for much needed time. As they peel back the layers, they are bombarded with thoughts of what are the causes of the sexless lifestyle. Could the underlying scenarios include the following? All of your spending has kept us deeper in debt, deeper in the hole and strain, and taken a toll on our love life. I know you're going to work and bring home the bacon. I know you're going to work and bring home the bacon. But that demanding job you have, spending too much time at that office. And I'm left alone with these kids, tired. I was healing from the first affair of your straying, and first affair. Your straying again is delaying our sex life indefinitely. Isn't it obvious that we don't have anything in common? and we're drifting further apart. Our busy workload don't allow us to go anywhere or do anything together anymore. Something gotta give. Something's gotta give. When was the last time you paid any attention to me and our sex life? Why don't you sit? Why don't you visit the doctor? I'm not attached to you anymore. You know those kids might be listening even if the door is closed. Honey, you always got a headache. Honey, those kids may be listening even if the door is closed. Honey, you always got a headache. What's really going on? Despite the sound, does this sound familiar? Furthermore, of the numerous suggested factors that have led to this dilemma, several articles entitled Hopeful Solutions for Your Sexless Marriage, written by Dr. Andrew Atwood and researched by Dr. Jennifer Borman, director of Female Sexual Medicine Center, UCLA, in Los Angeles. Biological biological challenges. Interrupted challenges on your body parts. Erectile dysfunctions, which is commonly called impotence in men, low sexual desire, immature ejaculations, energy levels, female hormone imbalance, fibroid cysts, tumors, vaginal dryness, and make it difficult to engage and sexually to engage well sexually. Menopause, thyroids, infertility, surgeries, birth control pills, post pregnancies, severe vaginitis, hormone levels, sometimes drift dramatically due to things like childbirth, menopause, depression, on your hysterectomy, etc. Problems with orgasms, lubricating, medical and chronic illnesses, issues in men and women, such as diabetes, stroke, heart attack, high and low blood pressure, low or high libido, sex drives, medication, weight issues, kidney, liver arthritis, Parkinson's, AIDS, cancer, hyperactivities, sexual desire, etc. Personal and emotional challenges, emotional problems, sexual influences, unexpected life mishaps, leads to some eating disorders, financial matters, children, grief issues, poor body image, rape and molestation, physical, mental, and sexual abuse, those it resulting in shame, guilt, and depression, and rage, sometimes destroys trust and prevent intimacy and sexual pleasure. Cultural challenge, dealing with your beliefs in religion, ideas, morals, or ethics may be different from menopause, may be different from spouse, etc. The interracial or mixed marriages is not to be compared with mixed marriages of Jewish men marrying pagan and Delostrious women. Ezra 10. The stand against interrelational marrying should be confused as ethnic should be confused as ethnicity based on race related and rather spiritually incompatibility according to the marriage expert Dr. Miles Monroe. Relationship challenge: a lack of oral communication, bad experiences from post relationships that have been dealt with, partners struggling with pornography, sex addiction, alcohol, drug addiction, gambling addiction, veteran servicemen and service women struggle with post-traumatic stress disorder, depression. Antidepressants often affect sexual drives, nervous breakdowns, stress, sexual boredom, sexual dissatisfaction, spouse on the sexual dissatisfaction, spouse down low, sexual anxiety, and hinder performance and negative conflicts from unresolved expressed feelings of anger and resentment, rejection about household duties, past actions, past arguments, maturity, immaturity level, avoidance of sexuality transmitted diseases, avoiding conception from birth control, imprisonment, no visitation, stepchildren, or extended family. Adultery causes the partner to have affairs and stop sex with their partner. The victim of the affair refuses to have sex with their adulterer and often struggle mentally about the affair. Although the current media blitz have reported problems, matters of nature, Newsweek magazine says, entitled, We're not in the mood for married couples with kids and busy jobs. Sex isn't what it used to be. How stress causes strife in the bedroom and beyond, by Kathleen Dunning, dated June 30th, 2003. The author of The Sex-Starved Marriage by Michelle Wilner Davis wrote that the sexual desire low by men was the number one complaint among the sex therapists in other articles. Also emphasized that the sheer bypass of the couple, job stress, lifestyle, and overwhelming of the B word, too busy working, too busy commuting to work, too busy hauling kids around to various activities, too busy for sex, including exhaustion, and one of the top priorities of not connecting in the sex. Nonetheless, many spouses believe that the real culprit to this sexless lifestyle is most marriages, the use of infidelity, adultery. Many of the couples are finding themselves unable to, unwilling to commit and be faithful to their covenant vows. Can you reflect and travel down memory lane? Can you reflect and travel down memory lane? Too much publicized celebrities, evangelical priests, presidents, athletes, and coaches caught infidelity and sexual scandals over the past months, years, decades. What about the ones that are kept hush hush out of the limelight, out of the limelight? Just look around your own backyard or community. According to Dr. Robin Smith, #1 New York Times bestseller author, lies and alter the truth about great marriages. They lied at the altar, upholding the commitment to the vows. They lied at the altar in upholding the commitment to the vows without truly comprehension of the sacredness of the marital union. Sometimes they feel like it is almost impossible to cherish the idea of having sex with only one partner for the rest of your lives. Somehow they are convinced that the grass is greener and worth grazing. Marriage to some, like a buffet eatery, they have the choice and sampling of eating and every food on the menu. Some men and women feel they need to desire something different, evangelical themselves, with new body types and other sets of lips. Seems refreshing at that moment. And what about a web that has been deceived? Or what about the web they have weaved? What about the web that they have weaved and become deceived? The reality shows cheaters attest to the very motion. It is astonishing in 2003 that Ashley Madison Agency, a site for marriage pope looking to have an affair, with 50,000 members. What more alarming is that in 2007, more than 1.2 million members. A wife might not have an ounce of proof of her husband cheating, but it's the reason that some of them just too clever, smooth, secretive, skillful, and of their wrongdoings. However, some wives have what they call women intuition. They just know that their husbands are up to something because they had stopped satisfying them in bed and a long time ago. Moreover, if the truth is told, their lovemaking have gone from vivacious to starbaceous. It just seems that they are just going through the motion, putting the wheel in the bikini. Therefore, the wife shows the high-natured, passionate, scrumptious of a lover and one who make you exhale after lovemaking, as their man as their man could not go without sex weeks after week, lately month after month, year after year. Oh no, not physically able man, Normally, brothers giving up sex is like taking away a BMW. Child, please. Wives obviously know their husbands' promiscuous behavior because of the visible trail of evidence that other women have behind as lipstick left on the husband's car, lipstick left in the husband's car, that you know it is not yours. A pair of earrings, panties, thongs under the seat in the bedroom, photographs of your spouse with her, hotel receipts, cigarettes that obviously belong other because of the wife is not a smoker, etc. Wives sometimes silent hope that the best is, or just let it, hopes wife are sometimes silent and hope the best, or just let it alone, or let it rest. Hope for the best, or just let it rest. On the other hand, they turn a blind eye, a deaf ear. On occasion, other women will show up on the doorstep or the office. In addition, some husbands just confess after becoming overwhelmed with the guilt of leading a double life. Sometimes wives discover that their men aren't just that their men folk don't just cheat on them with one woman. Depending on the mindset, it could be multiple people, sex orgies, group sex at one time. Yet it ain't normal now. Fasten your seatbelt because something can be expected now in the generation. We are living in perilous times, according to 2 Timothy 2, chapter 3, verses 1 through 3, in which some humans are having illicit sexual with animals. This is termed as bestiality. Some are also having sex with life-size dolls, which some suggest is created for the purpose of replacing humans. Then there are cyber sex. What else? Although they imply that some men are tempted to cheat more often than women, new studies are revealing that some women also become aggressively engaged in affairs as well. Aggressively engaged in affairs as well. Who is to say that a lot of them aren't creeping back, aren't creeping back then, and since no one was really keeping any statistical account because of their high salary job and ascertain that they can play and pay. Who would ever have thought that this renew the show? Remember the show, It's a Different World, because the feminist movement, some women feel equal to men and want to do anything a man can do. Welcome to this millennium. If you think they are stunned about how about the society, you're stunned about how about this society. They certainly don't want this secret to come out. They certainly don't want this secret to come out of the closet because they're machismo. The Heart and Soul magazine, dated February, March 2008, has an article titled Workplace Cheating. It asks a question: Are you having an emotional affair? An emotional affair or the affair of the heart is termed society calls. Emotional affairs of the heart is the term society calls it. They emotionally cheat on in the office, work, and online chat room. Lover or unconsciously some evil attached to themselves on an X. Although there is no physical intimacy, they are enticed by the secrecy and the deception, according to the article. Some have no reliable statistics on how many affairs are exclusively sexual, emotional. Most experts say women are more likely to cheat emotional affairs. Women are more likely to choose emotional affairs, a potentially romantic connection, and do not include sex than men. The discovery of the emotional betrayal or the breach of trust, sometimes rather the act of sex, its life itself becomes the most painful aspects of the affair, quite surprisingly to many. It is also can be like the most difficult to recover from, according to some therapists. Most wives are unusually forgiving in the betrayal of the affair, of the first affair. The reason being that the woman loves a man. Love deserves another chance. The woman loves a man. Love deserves another chance. They will say, no wonder inquiring. They will say, love deserves another chance. No wonder inquiring minds need love to know. They are some as spouses and partners, not denying the cheater, deceiver, and cookie. The bond is just too much of a good thing to let him go. One time fling does not make it a throwaway, should it? Isn't there a difference between an affair and a fling? In all honesty, it is suggested that some men, on the other hand, are usually not so forgiving. They will pick up and go on their life. They will pack up and go living elsewhere. The false sense of their perception of love and eludes into the belief that they have no save face and not being the victim of cheating. They make the decision of beating their so-called beloved physical quite often because of becoming a fatality that leads another domestic violence issue. However, hats off to those real men who ain't stunned to choose not to run. And even though they might be disgusted when their ladies busted, disgusted when their ladies busted. Too far often, some men are
Hold on.
dishonest, some men are labeled henpecked when
Hey,
they,
Vic,
huh?
it's our time is about up.
Oh, really?
Uh-huh.
I
Yeah, well,
didn't,
anyways, look like in your book, it's gonna be a happy ending or something.
well, it is. It's almost in it because they talk. Yeah, it's about. It's got a little bit more ways to go, but if we are at the end, let me finish this. When they choose not to leave a nest and they want for the best of their children and some of their marriage, take a bow. Obviously, research has revealed that some women don't know a good man is staring them in the face.
Okay then. Well,
See,
very good. And
I done got off into this relationship guide.
I see. Yeah, I know you didn't even stop the power.
I know it.
Uh-huh. Well, all right then. Well, you have a good rest of the evening here. You have a
Well,
good rest of the evening.
oh, you too. You too. You
All
too.
right then. All right, see you later. Happy reading.